I'm back making Jets content, and what a way to come back, but a massive kind of bombshell of a story. What is going on, guys? Welcome back to Talking Jets with Tigo. My name is Tigo, and after a much-needed week off, we're back making Jets content. So just to give everybody an explanation of why I had to take my break, obviously, as a lot of you know, I am a full-time student. I am a stay-at-home dad with 2 kids under 2. I did a ton of draft prep, watching over 250 prospects this cycle, and I was just burnt, and I just needed a break, and it was a really good opportunity to just not do anything. There wasn't a ton of conversations to be had. The draft had already happened. My reactions were out there. I just needed a break, so I took one. But I have been missing this stuff and making videos, so I'm back. And what better conversation to have than obviously the doom and gloom that is some of the Jets reporters sometimes. Connor Hughes of SNY did his mailbag and was responding to a question asked by 5858 Jack on Twitter. And the question was, internally, do you get the sense that the team is uneasy about Nathaniel Hackett as a fan base? Now, I'm just going to read the important parts of the question, and then we're going to talk about it, and then we'll go from there. And then it goes, but then there's Hackett. The Jets made legitimate attempts this offseason to hire someone who would essentially replace Hackett. Not as a new offensive coordinator, but a title above who would run the show. The Jets had enough things they needed to address this offseason without replacing areas they're content with. That pursuit tells me internally there are legitimate concerns with Hackett's ability to successfully run things. So first of all, I think that correlation is not causation when it comes to this. And there are more comments that I want to address, so I'll come back to it. I'll let you guys know when Connor is saying something, when I'm saying something. This is my response to Connor's things. First of all, this is not me defending Nathaniel Hackett. This is not me trying to say that Nathaniel Hackett is a good offensive coordinator in the slightest. But I had come out before, and this is a wrong opinion that I had, and I'm going to correct that statement now. Before, I had come out and said that the New York Jets probably had too many cooks in the kitchen, people with too many responsibilities. And after rereading the Diana Rossini article and just sitting with it and kind of coming to the conclusion that, you know what, I don't think that's all that true, because these other areas and these other coaches were asking for support, and they were asking for help, and they were giving their input. And Nathaniel Hackett didn't seem like the type of coach that was accepting that input and trying to adjust and adapt. And we saw that product on the field clear as day. Now, when Nathaniel Hackett came in, he wasn't brought in, and I think a lot of people are misconstruing this because he is an offensive mastermind, an offensive genius. That's not what the New York Jets are looking for in an offensive coordinator. When we traded for Aaron Rodgers, we didn't trade for prime Aaron Rodgers, and I think everybody knew that. We're not looking for Hall of Fame Aaron Rodgers, because that's not what we need. That's not what the New York Jets need. We need league average. What we need from Nathaniel Hackett is for him to recreate the 2017 Jacksonville Jaguars, which was the team that he was the offensive coordinator for. Now, why do I say that? Well, because that Jacksonville Jaguars went 10-6 that year. Now, it wasn't off of the back of the offense. The offense was actually bang on average on every measurable statistic. They didn't blow teams out of the water with rushing. They didn't blow teams out of the water with receiving. They didn't really have all that dynamic of an offense. And they didn't really have a superstar at any position on the offense. Maybe you could argue Leonard Fournette with his 1,200 rushing yards that year was incredible. But, that was it. Their number one wide receiver that year was Keelan Cole. And so, when we compare those two rosters, the New York Jets roster, top to bottom on offense, is infinitely better. It's a better wide receiver room. It's a better running back room. It's a better quarterback room. It's a better offensive line. It's a better overall product. And so when you come into the conversation, you have to ask, can you be league average? And I think one of the things that Connor is kind of failing to take into consideration is that one of the things that he says is the Jets had enough things they needed to address this offseason without replacing areas they're content with. That pursuit tells me internally there are legitimate concerns about Hackett's ability to successfully run things. So, he's saying, because they try to find new people, they're not happy with Hackett and the way that they're running things. And while I can see that, we also did have a ton of turnover on the offensive side of the ball. We needed a new running backs coach because Embry wasn't good enough to be the running backs coach, so we had to bring somebody in. So they tried to bring in a veteran voice who could legitimately help not just the running back room, but the offense. Makes sense. Wide receiver room. Azani left and he went to Pittsburgh. Makes sense. There were some struggles. I liked Azani. I would have kept him on. But there were also massive struggles in the wide receiver room and their development, so they got rid of the young guy and brought in a veteran to have a bigger voice in the offseason. Makes sense to help with the wide receiver core and the justification there. But they didn't go out of their way to hire people, in my opinion, and they didn't interview people that they didn't have a job set out for. Now, they did interview a couple of people to be like a senior offensive assistant, and that makes sense, but that wasn't going to put anybody above Nathaniel Hackett, kind of between Hackett and Robert Saleh. It's just about getting more people in the conversation to better build out an offense that makes more sense, because it almost seemed like Nathaniel Hackett kind of shut in and said, no, I have to fix it, instead of opening it up and said, how can we fix it this offseason? Connor Hughes goes on in the article to say, it almost feels like the Jets are putting so much faith in Rodgers' ability to correct Hackett's wrongdoing. Sources spoke of many, many times last summer where Hackett called a play, then Rodgers changed it completely at the line. They figure he can do the same in the regular season. That's a lot to put on a player, though, even of Rodgers' stature. This isn't the NBA. And that ends his comments. And I think that this is a little bit of a, I don't know. I don't even know how to put this into words. That's kind of why you get a Hall of Fame quarterback, is because of their ability to do that. Tom Brady was Tom Brady, not because he had all of the athletic gifts, because he was just smarter than you on the field. He was just better than you tactically in the X's and O's. And whatever play was being called, Tom knew what the right play was, and he could adjust it at the line. We can see that because not a single person that's come out of New England has had any level of success as a coach. Offensively, defensively, you can argue Bob had some success as a head coach, but not as a GM, and that's why he got fired from the Texans. But still, you don't see these guys from this offensive coaching staff in New England leaving and having all that much success. Byron Leftwich is another great example of this when he went to Tampa. Byron Leftwich was getting head coaching interviews, legitimate ones, and then Tom Brady had the down year because of his age, and Byron Leftwich, is he coaching right now? Does he have a job? I have no idea where he is. And people legitimately thought that he was going to be a really, really good mind. A really good quarterback can overcome the deficiencies of a bad offensive coordinator. And that's the thing. I don't know that Nathaniel Hackett is a bad offensive coordinator. He's not a good one, but he's average. We see that from the 2017 Jacksonville Jaguars and the things that he did there. But also, if we watch back last year, we can see that wide receivers were running wide open all year long, and Zach just couldn't hit them. So again, while I do agree with his last comment, if there's one major concern headed into the Jets season, it's Hackett. That is true. I think it's health and it's Hackett. Those are the two concerns. As long as Aaron Rodgers is the quarterback, I think we'll be able to overcome the Hackett side of things. Hackett said it multiple times that the problem with the system that he had come up with in the offseason was that it was very simple, and the point was that the quarterback was going to get to the offensive line of scrimmage and adjust things as necessary. Now, you know who had a big hand in writing the playbook this offseason? Aaron Rodgers, and that's the point. So while I understand everything that Connor Hughes is saying, I'm not all that concerned, because ultimately in Aaron Rodgers, I trust. He's my quarterback. He's the one that's going to be executing the plays. And the reality is that even if players aren't running the right routes, it doesn't matter. He'll find them. It's the truth of it. Even if they're not playing the best, he'll find the open guy. And if he can't find the open guy for whatever reason, he'll get that situation fixed really, really quickly. We're failing to remember that Aaron Rodgers was a stubborn player and just wouldn't throw at guys who weren't doing their jobs. That will continue here in New York. Just because he's in a different jersey doesn't change who he is as a player. But let me know what you guys think in the comment section below. Boy, does it feel good to be making Jets content. And last but not least, go Jets.